Kachin conflict Second conflict, 2011 to 2018. 2011. Armed clashes erupted between the Kachin Independence Army, KIA, and the Myanmar Army on June 9, 2011, when government forces broke the ceasefire and attacked Kia positions along the Taping River east of Bamo, Kachin State, near the Taping hydroelectric plant. Fighting occurred throughout Kachin State, as well as northwestern parts of Shan State. On June 14, 2014, Kia insurgents captured 2 hydroelectric plants and took 6 government soldiers and several Chinese workers hostage for several hours, before the Myanmar army stormed the buildings. A total of 6 people were killed and 4 others were wounded in the incident. According to news reports, the recent fighting broke out as a result of the Burmese government's attempts to seize Kia-controlled areas, which are located around lucrative energy projects in Kachin and Shan State backed by the Chinese government. Despite a December 2011 statement by Myanmar's President Thein Sein that he had ordered the Myanmar army to cease its offensive in Kachin State, the conflict continued into 2012. 2012. In 2012, the largest battles of the reignited conflict occurred in March, along the Myitkyina-Bamo Road. In April, the battle for Pengwa in Chipui Township near Luchong was fought between the Kia and the government soldiers. Clashes erupted again in late April, when the Kia launched an offensive to capture Burmese military posts around Pengwa. The Kia offensive succeeded and the Myanmar army retreated from the area by the end of April. In August, the Kia claimed that 140 government troops were killed when they exploded mines buried inside the Myok Vayu, White Monkey, Jade Mine, which was owned by the Wayong Kaba Company. 2013 to 2014. Fortified Kia positions were heavily damaged by airstrikes and artillery launched by the Myanmar army from December 2012 to January 2013. On November 19, 2014, government soldiers attacked the Kia's headquarters near Lisa, killing at least 22 insurgents. 2018. In March 2018, the Tatmadaw, Myanmar Armed Forces, launched airstrikes against the Kia in Tanai Township, which is part of a large mining region. Between 1 and April 6, 2018, Tatmadaw soldiers allegedly attacked Kia positions in the Kia-controlled Monsi Township, though no reports of fighting emerged from the region. The Kia later raided the Tatmadaw's Battalion 86 military base in Pekan Township on April 6, 2018, killing 8 government soldiers and capturing 13. By April 10, 2018, locals claimed that 18 Tatmadaw soldiers and 3 Kia insurgents had been killed in the clashes. Accusations of abuses perpetrated by the Tatmadaw against civilians emerged in March and April 2018, which included allegations that Tatmadaw soldiers specifically targeted and killed 2 Kachin and 6 Shani farmers. Several civilians were also wounded in the crossfire. By May 2018, 6,000 IDPs had fled armed clashes and shelling by the Myanmar army, whilst hundreds more remained trapped in villages caught between the crossfire. Hunger became a prevalent issue for IDPs, with some resorting to eating banana stems. Ceasefire attempts. Numerous rounds of ceasefire talks have taken place between the Kachin Independence Army and the government of Myanmar since fighting resumed in June 2011. According to a December 18, 2012 report by Swedish journalist Bertil Lintner in the Hong Kong-based Asia Times Online, many people have criticized the foreign-backed ceasefire efforts for avoiding discussions of political issues and only emphasizing ceasefires, disarmament and economic development. Those interlocutors, including a peace support initiative sponsored by the Norwegian government and in a separate initiative the Switzerland-based Centre for Humanitarian Dialogue, are essentially promoting the government's view. The Australian reported that some Kachin business leaders were calling on Aung San Suu Kyi to help mediate the dispute, and on January 6, 2012, Aung San Suu Kyi said that she could not step into the negotiations without an official invitation from the government to do so, which she had not received. 2013 ceasefire talks. On January 18, 2013, immediately prior to an international donors conference in Myanmar, President Thein Sein announced a unilateral ceasefire in the war between the army and the Kio. The ceasefire was said to take effect the following day, on 19 January, But light fighting was also reported the following day, and a full-scale government assault was reportedly launched on 20th of January and included sustained mortar and artillery fire, followed by hundreds of Burmese troops storming a Kia base on the outskirts of rebel-held town of Lisa. The government of Thein Sein was reported to be under pressure from political and business circles who believed the escalating conflict would undermine Myanmar's emergence from decades of diplomatic isolation, and had passed a resolution in parliament calling on Min Aung Hlaing, the military's commander-in-chief, to scale down the war. Min Aung Hlaing responded by stating that the military would only carry out attacks only in self-defense, the rationale it has consistently given since December 2011 for prosecuting a war against the Kia, and the rationale it gave for allowing airstrikes on rebel positions starting on December 26, 2012. On 4 February, Burmese government and the Kachin Independence Army met in Ruili, China, and agreed to reduce military tension in Kachin state and hold further peace talks later in February. However, no talks took place later in February, but almost no armed clash reportedly happened in Kachin state after the peace talks. According to Misaman News, on 26 February a Kio Central Committee member claimed that they would not be meeting with the government in February because they needed more time to consult with the Kachin people regarding the negotiations. Burmese government and Kia renewed peace talks in Ruili, China on March 11, 2013. The Chinese government's refusal to allow observers from Western countries at peace talks had delayed negotiations, despite the Chinese rejecting the allegations. On 30th May, Burmese government and Kachin Independence Army signed a preliminary ceasefire agreement that would lead to further progress towards reaching a peace deal. The parties, however, failed to reach an official ceasefire agreement. United Nations Special Advisor on Myanmar, Vijay Nambiar, also joined the meeting as an observer, along with representatives of China and other ethnic minorities. However, the Burmese government and Kachin Independence Army failed to reach a permanent ceasefire agreement after several peace talks in 2013, but agreed to work together towards permanent ceasefire agreement and reduce hostilities. 2014 ceasefire talks. Renewed fighting broke out in April 2014 when the Burmese army attacked various Kia positions around Monsi Township, Kachin State and northern Shan State to eradicate timber smuggling and to control strategic routes around their strongholds. The Kachin Independence Army requested a meeting in Myitkyina on 10 May to lessen tensions between the sides. Negotiations aimed at drafting a nationwide ceasefire agreement began in April 2014 at the Myanmar Peace Center between representatives of various ethnic armed groups and the Burmese government, but the Kia and Tong National Liberation Army, TNLA, were not among the negotiators. The Kia's deputy commander-in-chief Gun Ma urged the United States to get involved in the peace process in April 2014. Airstrikes. On January 2, 2013, the Burmese government confirmed that it carried out airstrikes a few days earlier against the ethnic rebels in northern Kachin, in response to attacks by the Kachin Independence Army. The U.S. government stated that it would be formally expressing our concern over the escalation of force used by Myanmar government. On January 3, 2013, the Kia alleged that airstrikes had continued to occur for the sixth consecutive day in the area around Lisa, and there were allegations that the Myanmar Armed Forces was also using chemical weapons. UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon stated following the incidents that Burma's authorities should desist from any action that could endanger the lives of civilians living in the area or further intensify conflict in the region. Civilians and refugees. Civilians have also been killed in fighting as well as having been specifically targeted. Civilians were often displaced by fighting and faced dangers such as landmines, which were frequently laid by government and rebel forces without regard for civilians. Although some civilians had crossed the border with China, most remained in northern Burma as of December 2012. Refugees were being forced by the Chinese government back into Myanmar in August 2012 despite the continued fighting there and the illegality of forcibly returning civilians to war zones under international law. Women have played a significant role in the conflict as both combatants and victims. Time magazine documented the presence of many female Kia soldiers in 2012. In February 2013, the NGO Kachin Women's Association Thailand, KWAT, reported that the fighting had created over 100,000 refugees and that 364 villages had been wholly or partially abandoned since 2011. The organization's report also stated that the Burmese army deliberately attacked refugee camps and villages as well as committed alleged war crimes such as the rape and murder of civilians. The United Nations stated on April 28, 2018 that more than 4,000 people were displaced since armed clashes resumed earlier in the month. Child soldiers.